What's up, everybody? Welcome to week 7. We got a relatively easy week, but at the same time, it's a very important week. So, week 7 is sound design. Sound design, um, some people say it's the most important part of a film. I would say it's the second most important part of a film. Reason being is sound design really hits more of the senses. So, TV and film is very much a visual medium, but then it's also an auditory medium. And though it's visual, for some reason, the audience's brain can accept an error here, an error there visually. If there's something that isn't done quite right, or there's some sort of a minor error, audiences tend to be able to forgive that and continue on and stay enveloped in the story. And the interesting thing is sound design is completely opposite. One bad, even small sound design error, and it just pulls the person out of the experience. You could have some audio drop, or something be a little too loud or a little too soft or something, and it becomes an unforgivable sin, it seems like. So this is, though it's not a hard week, this is a very important week, and something that you did definitely need to spend your time on, making sure that everything is mixed and done appropriately. So as always, make sure that your stuff is turned in. Number two, make sure that you are working on only one assignment this week. All right. The one thing I want to bring to your attention is right here. It says, please note every once week seven's assignment is turned in, and I have given feedback on the fixes I suggest. You may at that time fix any issues and make sure any changes are done. So what I mean by this is you're going to do your sound edit, and you're going to correct anything that you think it needs to be corrected, and you're going to turn in what you feel this week. You are going to turn in what you feel is your final edit. And then I'm going to go back through and review it. And if it is perfect and great, then you're going to have an incredibly light week next week. If there are changes, then I'm going to suggest some changes. Hey, you might want to look at this, tweak this, make some changes here. Oh, I see an error there. And it's kind of your last chance to make any sort of last fixes before you turn it in. Um, so this week is sound design, but if there's anything else that needs to be fixed, and you have the time, by all means, go in there and fix it. If you don't have the time and you only have time for the sound design, that's completely fine. You can turn it in, and then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to tell you all the things that I think need to be fixed or tweaked or changed, and you can utilize next week. Okay. All right. On to our study materials. All this week is all about sound design. And every single one of these videos is so good. I suggest watching every one of them from start to finish, and maybe even taking some notes so you know what video you're watching and the information that is important to you, because it is vastly important in the sound design. There are so many levels of sound design, more so than you really think. Most people think, oh, there's some dialogue, and maybe there's some background music, and there's a sound effect here or a sound effect there. And really, it's so much more than that. It's really funny, actually, right here under this guy edits, it says audio design, sound is 70% of what you see. It sounds really funny, but it's the truth. So please go through and watch all of these videos. I suggest taking notes, and really trying to make sure you truly understand each one of these videos before you go into your sound design. Okay. And then here is your assignment. Your assignment, sound design on your short film, final mix. The sound design phase is one of the most important elements in bringing a short film to life. Sound creates the world the audience experiences and significantly enhances the emotional impact of the story. That's massively important. As I've said multiple times in this class, and I say in every one of my TV and film classes, if you're not eliciting an emotional response, you're not doing your job. That is what we are here to do. If somebody is not having an emotional response to the film that you have edited or shot or all of the above, then you haven't done your job, or you haven't done it well. Okay. So it's all about eliciting an emotion. So complete the full audio post-production for the short film by doing the following. Okay. So dialogue cleanup and mixing. So ensure the dialogue is clear and intelligible and properly leveled. So what that means is we in the industry we call that normalizing. Down here as well it says normalizing. So what that means is you go through and you actually make sure that all of the dialogue is at the right level. Um, might I suggest if when you're using Premiere Pro, if you keep the dialogue somewhere around -6 on your meters, you're going to be sitting in a good place. So remember that, -6 for your dialogue. Okay. Um, use the best, cleanest audio tracks available for your recordings. So I have noticed in some videos that have been turned in throughout the weeks, I keep telling people, "Hey, you need to fix this audio. It's you're using the wrong track. It's really, really light. It sounds tinny from a long ways away." I'm not wanting people to go back at that point to go in and try and do some crazy overhaul on their audio, but to find the correct track. Um, each of these films, I've seen each of these films edited perfectly. Well, I wouldn't say perfectly, but to the best of the abilities, and turned into film festivals, and actually have won film festivals with them. So I know that the dialogue is there. I know that all of the information is there. So I'll point one out that I've seen multiple times. There's the mad scientist, and the mad scientist turns into the teddy bear, and he shakes his fist at the sky and yells, "Jerry!" And many people use the Jerry that is recorded on that take. Now, you got to remember, you can't see his lips. Go find the recording that actually has the full voice Jerry. So it's like it was recorded off camera. It should be in there, no problem. Actually, I know it shouldn't. I shouldn't say it should be in there. It is in there. I have went and looked to make sure that I didn't forget something. So make sure that you have the audio for that cleaned up. That's a big one that I keep seeing over and over from a lot of people that they miss, and they just think that, oh, well, this is the track that came with the audio or the video, so I guess this is what I do. So go find that one, utilize it, make sure that all of your levels are clean and they're equal. So when somebody's talking to another person, somebody's not quieter, or somebody doesn't sound like they're in another room because you're using the wrong microphone. So again, make sure that you find the right one. Normalize all audio tracks, adjust the levels and dialogues so they're all consistent, and do not compete with each other or compete with the music or sound effects. Okay. Again, right here, your dialogue around a -6, maybe a -8, kind of somewhere in that general vicinity is generally where dialogue sits, unless somebody's whispering or something. But in general, that's where it kind of sits in Premiere Pro. All right. Music bed and score. So I don't think that unless I have some prodigies in this class that are musicians that record professional music, I don't think anybody's going to score these films. But if you do, hey, kudos, that's amazing. Um, create a so right here we I went to the wrong place. Almost went down to sound effects. Add continuous background music throughout the entire film. Okay, you will be graded on that. When you watch a Hollywood film, rarely, and when I say rarely, I mean like it doesn't happen in every film. It happens every so often in a random film where somebody is trying to do something very specific, but rarely do you not have background music playing. There's almost always a very light amount of background music that is supposed to direct the emotion of the scene. So make sure that you go and you find the pieces of music. So notice I said pieces, not piece of music, pieces. Throughout all of this, you should have um, multiple, two, three, four, five, six different pieces of music that run at different times during your shoot or during this edit, because the emotional tone is going to slightly change. It might go from very light and mellow to very intense to funny to something else. And you want the music to change with the mood and with the emotion. Okay. So go find all of those and make sure that they blend properly. So sometimes you're going to have something that you really like. You know, hey, I really like this particular piece for this part of the film, but it doesn't blend with maybe the music before and the music after, and it just won't work. Okay. So make sure that they blend well and that you edit them together well, so they blend together and it's seamless when the music changes. So that's an important part. Okay. Select music, edit, and support the tone, mood, and emotion, as I just explained. Avoid a single track throughout the film. Instead, layer the transitions between multi-tracks to reflect the story's emotion. Again, I just went through that. So I kind of went through all these all in one. So again, find your multiple music tracks and make sure that they're layered properly and that they mix properly so they blend as you move from song to song. Also, unless you're James Gunn and you're creating Guardians of the Galaxy or one of his other films, you generally don't pick popular music. You generally go and you pick some sort of electronic music or orchestra music or something that is just um, instruments. There's usually no singing involved unless absolutely comes into play like James Gunn does when he writes his films. He also writes the soundtrack within it. So understand that. Sound effects. Creatively add sound effects to build a rich, immersive world. Think critically about every scene. What should your audience hear? Include realistic and stylized sounds such as footsteps, breathing, emotional ambiance, um, laboratory equipment, monsters growling, lightning flashes, footsteps, monsters walking through a city, through city streets. So we have two different films here. Let me tell you, in the laboratory, you want to hear laboratory sounds. You want to hear little bubbles bubbling, and you want to hear electronic or electric things going, zzz, zzz, like a normal mad scientist. You want these sound effects kind of happening in the background. The more you put in there, the more it layers, the deeper and richer the environment. Also, this is one thing, I feel like it's the most obvious, but it's one thing that is absolutely imperative to build that mood in um, the Mad Scientist. There are lightning flashes. We should probably hear the lightning on every flash. Okay. I'm saying that, I'm giving you guys a hint. Because I've had students just miss that completely, and it's like, well, I see the lightning, but I don't hear it. And we usually hear lightning, and it also builds the atmosphere. On the kaiju at the end, I'm gonna spoiler alert for all those people that haven't watched that one. The time traveler gets stepped on by the kaiju. Well, you probably throughout the film want to think about kaiju footsteps happening, and maybe they start off incredibly light, and throughout the film they get a little louder and a little louder and a little louder, and maybe with each one of those, as it gets louder and louder, you add some camera shake your uh to your film, so it feels like it's getting louder and louder. Okay. Those are some things to think about, as well as you're in a coffee shop. There's probably like an espresso machine going, and there's, a person here, a person there talking. There's footsteps as the waiter walks back and forth. It's all kinds of different levels. So you need to watch your films very closely and figure out what is it that you would normally hear. Now, there's an exercise right here. To inspire your sound design, spend 2 to 3 minutes sitting quietly with your eyes closed in different environments, a quiet room, a busy street, or a cafe. I highly suggest doing this. Okay. And note the sounds you hear. Every location has its own unique sound. You could sit in your bedroom with the door closed and nobody home and close your eyes. Don't fall asleep. Close your eyes and listen. And after about a minute, the world's going to melt away, and you're going to hear every single little sound that happens. You're going to hear something out on the street. You're going to hear, a horn honking. You're going to hear the air conditioning kick on. You're going to hear all these different sounds. Do that in a couple locations. Go, like, if you're doing the kaiju shoot, go to a coffee shop, grab a cup of coffee, Don't embarrass yourself. Like, go sit in a corner of a coffee shop and close your eyes and listen for every single little sound, and take a notepad and write down each thing that you hear. Okay. So it's going to be hard to go to a mad scientist lab and close your eyes and everything, but you can come up with the ideas of what you're going to hear. There's always going to be something. Okay. If you're in a drafty castle, maybe you're going to hear the wind blowing outside. Okay. So think about those. Last thing is experiment, try different things, and put them in there and see if they work or not. Layer, layer, layer. You may have two or three layers of sound effects happening, and some of them may be happening all at the same time. Okay. This is where everything gets much, much more intricate, because you have to layer the vocal tracks of the actors, the music bed that is playing, that is driving the music, and the sound effects that are happening. Okay. So remember, -6, -8, right in that general vicinity is what you're looking at for the vocal tracks of the actors. So you can hear them. Music beds, you might be down at like, I don't know, -15, maybe at -18, -21, depending on where you want to be. You're going to be down there. And then your sound effects, they come in at the right times. Okay. There might be sound effects that, like, let's say it's wind blowing. You might hear wind blowing throughout the whole track. And maybe that's just going to come in at like a -15, -16. So it's there, but it's not real loud. Okay. So play with the mixing, play it on speakers, play it in headphones, put it on, like, play it multiple different ways so you can tell if it's mixed. One of the biggest errors that I see is people will edit with headphones on, or they'll edit with just like laptop speakers or something. And then when they go and play it on a bigger screen, with different speakers, it comes through completely different. You can, before you turn it into me, you can do an export and you can put it on YouTube, and you can put it on your home theater. If you have a television at home with some nice speakers, or even just the television speakers, play it in multiple different areas to see how everything mixes. Okay. What we're looking for is we're looking for an immersive experience. So your deliverables, export your film with the completed sound mix, dialogue, music, and sound effects. Upload it to YouTube and submit the YouTube link here. Okay. This will be the last critique before submitting your final cut on the film. I will be evaluating these projects with high standards. You have 8 weeks, or you have had 8 weeks to develop and refine your film. This is the time to make your audio truly shine. Okay. So what I'm saying there is, make sure this audio amplifies and makes it even better. Also, once I give you a critique, go back, fix things that I mention on the critique. I mean, you get to decide whether you agree or disagree on what I'm saying. But if I'm saying it, there must be something that's standing out to me. Go in and fix and repair for your final cut that you're going to turn in. Okay. If this was a film that was going to a theater, it would be the one that gets shipped to the theater. Okay. You're going to have, from the time you turn in your audio mix edit, I'll within 24 hours, I'll give you a critique on it, and then you have from then until the following Friday to turn in a final cut. And again, I'm going to be very critical on your final cut, because by that time we will have had 8 weeks, 8 weeks to trim and try and play with and colorize and visual effects and everything. I want these to, I've seen what these can be. I've seen both of these films win film festivals, national film festivals. Okay. So I know what they can be, and I'm looking to you guys to show me what the very absolute best you can create. So maybe you have to go back and mess with your visual effects because you weren't happy this last week with them, and you need to tweak them a little bit more. Maybe you're going to have to, go back and tweak the color, or maybe you have to go back and, snip a little something that you thought worked, but now it's kind of nagging on you. Like, oh, I don't really like the way that that's edited, and you need to go and tweak that. Okay, this is the time. Once you get your audio done, this is the time for you to go back and make any final last changes. All right. It's been really great having you guys in this class. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of stuff you come up with the sound design. Enjoy, have fun with this. I've had students that absolutely hated and did not want to do this part of the class, and then turn around and go, "My gosh, that was the funnest part because it really made the film come alive." So I look forward to seeing what you guys do. And I will talk to you guys very soon. Have a wonderful week. If you need anything, as always, go ahead and reach out with the inbox over here on the left-hand side of the screen, and I'll reach back at you and see what we can do to help you out. All right. Have a great week.